He's got a little boo-boo on his lip right now. You might be able to see that. You know, we smell like sunscreen and sweat. Sometimes you'll see he'll go for small squirrels. Especially, the best way of finding them is to smell at the ground and dig up. Yeah. So lots of different ways. So for example, we try to help him. Things that we will do to encourage him to dig up those squirrels, for example, is we hide little grapes in there and stuff like that. So he's just slowly get things out. He's very good at using his claws. He's saying this area. He's hanging out in his pool. It's really hot for him on some days, especially right now. You can see mostly his winter coat. So it's coming off in little tufts. West the avalanche